today. I'm looking at the Tefifon. The Hujima what? The Tefifon. Now I do have a lot of subscribers in Germany, or a lot of viewers anyway, so the Germans amongst you will know exactly what this is, or it's more than likely you will, but this is pretty much for the rest of you. This device was sold in Germany, imported into the US for a very small period of time, but pretty much it's a German device. And what is it? Looking at it, it's pretty hard to make out. It does look a little bit like a set of scales. We've got a plastic section on the right here. Heavy metal device. You can't pick it up with one hand. The top here is separated out and it's on springs. Again, looks a little bit like a scale from that side. We've got a wheel in the middle here with a rubber band around the outside of it and another one there. And then this plastic wheel only turns in one direction. It's got a big weight under it as well, which keeps it spinning round. That's on a rubberized mat of sorts. On the right hand side here, we've got a little wheel which moves a thing up in this window here. We've got a switch at the top and the bottom. Spin it round the back. We've got two wires coming out of it and an earth socket on the left, and another socket in the centre. Now the two wires are terminated in a Euro plug. It runs on 220 volts, this device, and then this is the audio out, because of course the Tefifon is an old piece of hi-fi equipment. The plug, easy enough to convert that into the UK one. I can just plug that straight in the wall, but this thing, that's not going to plug into my hi-fi, so I'm going to have to take that apart to get the wires out of it. I couldn't find any kind of converter sockets. Can't even find out what that kind of plug's called, to be honest. Simple enough, though, to take it apart. I'm going to wire it up to one of these RCA phono jack type things. It's a mono device, the Tefifon, so I've wired those together there, soldered it on. Pretty simple. I might do a better wiring job than that later on, but that was just to get it up and running. Now these are Tefifon cartridges. I suppose they're called cartridges, I'm not too sure. They're called Tefis. And we'll just get one out of its slipcase here, cardboard slipcase, slides out like that. As you can see, quite a chunky thing. It's got a label here to tell you what's on it, and on the side also as well at the bottom there, notice it says 19 centimeters a second. That's how fast it runs at. It's a tape type device, played by engaging a wheel in this cog here, and that little notch keeps it in position on that rubber mat that you saw earlier. All my cartridges are 60 minutes in length, other than one which is 70 minutes. These are the smaller size. They do a larger size one which holds up to 4 hours worth of music. Now this one, I'm going to show you what's inside it. The reason I'm taking this apart, it teaches Germans how to speak Italian, not something I'm going to need. So I've took the screw out of there, and let's open up the top and have a look inside. Starting with the lid, you'll see we've got a few bits of felt in there at various strategic positions, presumably to keep the tape moving around smoothly, but also maybe to take some fluff and dust off it. I'll explain why that will be important in a second. Now the tape comes out of the centre here, goes around the outside, comes outside the cartridge, and then back on the outside of the spool again. I'll pull a little bit out here so you can see it a bit more clearly. Now, if you've ever taken apart an 8-track cartridge, this mechanism will look very familiar to you. And if you haven't, then why not look at my 8-track video, which I'll point to now. I'll put a link up at the top of the screen. There we go, there. So if you want to look at the 8-track video, it's up there. But the amazing thing about the Tefi cartridges is they're not magnetic tape. This is plastic tape with a groove etched all the way around it from the top to the bottom of that tape. I suppose the nearest point of reference for most people would be a flexi disc that they used to give away in magazines many years ago. Imagine one of those stretched out over a very long piece of tape. I'll thread it into the machine here, put the cartridge on at the left, turn on the power. You can see the wheel moves around and starts pulling the tape from the top to the bottom. Engage the stylus by putting that down. It dampens this mechanism in on the tape here, and the stylus moves on and starts playing at the top and moves its way down to the bottom. You can adjust the position of the stylus manually by moving this lever here. So for example, if I want to go halfway through the recording, move it to the 2 position there. That puts the stylus roughly halfway down the tape. 3, 3/4 and 4 right at the end. So that's quite a useful way to jump to different tracks that are on this cartridge. Now I'll take the top off this, the plastic top off, so you can get a bit more of an idea as to how this operates inside. It's quite easy, just remove these 2 screws off the top. And there we go. This thing's in lovely condition, by the way, absolutely gorgeous. It's like museum quality. I'm very lucky to got hold of this. Anyway, turn on the power. You see it spinning around there. Engage the stylus. In fact, let's break out the macro lens and do something a little bit more exciting. So I'll stop this. I think it's time for a macro music montage. finally, justification for getting that macro lens. Now on the back of the device you'll have seen this socket, and that's got a plug that goes into it here, and that's attached to quite a long wire, and on the other end of that wire is this. It's remote control. Remember, we're talking 1957 and we've got a remote control for our hi-fi. It's got forward and back on there, and every time you press it, it jumps that little needle out with an electric shock almost, and then it puts it in a different position. So you can sit back in your chair and jump forward and back at semi-random intervals through the music that you're listening to. And when you've finished listening to your 60 minutes of music, disengage the stylus, turn off the power, and take the cartridge off the machine and feed that red tape back inside there and put it back inside its cardboard cover. Now these are all the different Teffis that I've got, a bit of a random selection that came with the machine. I really like that logo, by the way. I love logos that describe pretty much what the company does or how it operates. Notice this is from 1955. Now I know that might be copyright, but these things are about that age, which we're talking 60 years old, and they're in absolutely immaculate condition. Here's some of the different box designs I've got, and here's some of the different Teffi cartridges as well. Right, so I think we've played enough Beethoven over tinny speakers. Let's do something different and put some of this easy listening music on, which includes vocals, and play that back through my proper amplifier and some decent speakers. Let's have a listen.
In the bars I flew, und war verliebt in du. Und in the bars I flew, und war verliebt in du. Ja, so was du singst, es gab es noch nie. Kein Mädel fragt, das Brot bist du.
Now that was possibly one of the worst cover versions of Tutti Frutti ever, but I'm afraid most of the Teffi music is cover versions. They couldn't get any big name artists released on Teffi cartridges. But whilst it's playing in the background, I just want to show you the difference in size between a Teffi cartridge and an 8-track. The reason I keep going back to the 8-track cartridge is because it uses a very similar idea of a continuous reel of tape that moves from the inside of the reel to the outside of the reel. I know they're vastly different technologies, but they are strangely connected as well. The wheel that lets you position the stylus anywhere you want on the recording is very good. It enables you to make very fine movements and get pretty much the track that you want, and also it has a protection built in, so if you spin it, it won't scratch the stylus up and down the tape. You have to move the stylus off before you can move it into a different position. My Teffis seem a little bit prone to crackles and pops. But then I've got to remember that these recordings are getting on for almost 60 years old, and they definitely sound an awful lot better than a 78 RPM record would do. They don't sound as good as a 33, they're a little bit harsh, a little bit thinner. You have to adjust the bass up a little bit to give them a richer sound, but still there's a lot of entertainment to be had from listening to this old machine. Anyway, that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.